This is Thalikulam, a sleepy little fishing village in Kerala's Thrissur district, home to Mehboob, the fisherman. Mehboob is 32, has a wife and 2 children. And his life revolves around the amount of money he can make in a day. He's lucky on some days, and 3 square meals look like a possibility. But on most days, they look like a distant dream. Like many other fisherfolk in Thalikulam, Mehboob's life too revolves around making just enough to feed his family. Mehboob's story is the story of millions of people living in rural India. People who are struggling to give themselves and their families a life of dignity. Many, like Mehboob, are considering leaving their villages in search of a brighter future in cities and towns. Many, like Mehboob, are on the verge of breaking down. Sadly, today millions of villages in India, which provide for billions of Indians, fail to feed their own sons. Given a choice, Mehboob would not leave his village. This is the village he was born in. This is where his children were born. He loves his village dearly, but his mind is made up. They will have to go. He will have to find work in the city. After all, he wants to give his children a better life. Mehboob decides to seek help from the village president, who knows people in the town.
ഒന്ന് തൃശ്ശൂർ ജില്ലയിലെ തളിക്കുളം ഗ്രാമപഞ്ചായത്തും മറ്റൊന്ന് മലപ്പുറം ജില്ലയിലെ തിരുവരങ്ങാടിയുമാണ്. ഇന്ത്യയിൽ തന്നെയാണെങ്കിൽ 9 പഞ്ചായത്തുകളിലാണ് നടപ്പിലാക്കുന്നത്.
സാർ, എനിക്കൊരു കാര്യം ചോദിക്കാനുണ്ട്. ഈ സർക്കാർ പദ്ധതിയും പുരയും തമ്മിലുള്ള വ്യത്യാസം എന്താണ്? ഈ പുര എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ സ്വകാര്യ പങ്കാളിത്തത്തോടുകൂടി നടപ്പാക്കുന്ന അതിൻ്റെ ഒരു സംശയം ഉണ്ടാവും.
പുര പദ്ധതിയിൽ 3 വർഷത്തിനുള്ളിൽ പണി പൂർത്തീകരിച്ച് 10 വർഷം അതിന് വരുന്ന മെയിൻ്റെനൻസ് മുഴുവനും പുര പദ്ധതിയിൽ അവർ ചെയ്യണം. അപ്പം 13 വർഷം വരെ ആ പദ്ധതികൾ അവർ തന്നെ ചെയ്യും.
Little does Mehboob know, but things are about to change for him. As Mehboob sits, listening intently to the village president, there raises a glimmer of hope. He can visualize the changes that are about to take place in his village. Mehboob makes up his mind to give some more time to his village. After all, he loves his village dearly. PURA's main objective is to improve the quality of life in rural areas by providing livelihood opportunities and urban amenities. This will be done through a public-private partnership framework.
The role of INCAL is that of a system integrator. Basically, INCAL will be bringing together all the players. There is Government of India, there is a state government, there is the panchayat, there is the public. So INCAL is the interface between all these agencies. We have to bring the real schemes of Government of India and that of the state government and made it workable and make it workable in the panchayat level. We are focusing on A, infrastructure, and B, economic development. As a private sector player, we have to see that the projects are workable and also feasible and ensure that it brings in economic benefits to the panchayat and the people.
The pilot project for the development of Thalikulam village also includes a dedicated water supply scheme for the entire village. Through the construction of intake well, water treatment plant, raw water and clear water transmission mains and pump sets on the Karuvanur river. For sustainable development of water source in and around the villages, the private developers are constructing 7 ponds with retaining wall, steps and curtain walls in the village.
PURA basically looks at the integrated demand for development in a village, because it takes care of major part of infrastructure requirements and also the requirement for some economic activity which will give impulses to generation of livelihood opportunities. We have in the government a very large number of schemes and programs that we run, which caters to each one of these requirements in the villages. For instance, there is a drinking water scheme, there is a total sanitation scheme, there is a street light, the solar street light scheme of another ministry. So these are schemes which are existing, but the problem is that these schemes are not ever implemented simultaneously in any geographical area. And therefore, you have a situation where you can have road constructed in say 2007, and then by 2009 drinking water scheme comes, in 2011 when you start total sanitation program, by then the road has been washed out. So that full impact of development is never felt. The second issue here is that whereas government spends huge sums of money on capex, which is capital expenditure, but there is very little money available for maintenance, and therefore once the construction is over, then the asset which is created starts deteriorating very fast, and very soon on the ground you don't see anything. So under PURA, what we have tried to do is to bring all these together in a project mode, which means that all the included schemes will be implemented within the project time frame, which is 3 years, and then there is a maintenance phase of 10 years where the maintenance would also be maintained.
Thalikulam is all set for a complete transformation. The village will get solar street lighting, upgraded fish landing center, modern market and storage infrastructure, better education and medical facilities, a beach resort and a rural BPO.
Since there aren't too many employment opportunities in the village, people have to travel to towns in search of work. They spend lots of money just on transport, ending up not making any savings. Once PURA is implemented in the village, it will create lots of new employment opportunities for the village folk.
Another focus of the PURA scheme is to make the village self-sustainable in generating livelihood. By setting up skill development center, where the village youth will be taught vocational courses in gem and jewelry making, AC mechanic training, information technology, catering course and carpentry. Ministry of Rural Development is implementing the PURA scheme with support from Department of Economic Affairs and technical assistance of Asian Development Bank. With a view to bridging the infrastructure deficit in the rural sector, ADB is assisting the government with policy formulation, scheme design, business modeling, capacity building, bid process management, documentation and project evaluation of PURA.
ADB has been part of development of PURA for over 2 years. Under the ADB PPP initiative with the Government of India, mainstreaming PPPs in India, we've been there right at the beginning from concept development with the Ministry of Rural Development to really sort of testing the market, where we got over 90 expressions of interest for the scheme. And today when we see a pipeline of over 9 pilot projects, of which some already awarded, it's actually tremendously exciting to see a concept going into fruition and raising a lot of interest from a sector which actually has not seen much activity, the rural sector, where a lot of states and a lot of project sponsors are coming and saying, we want to upscale, we want to go into many more projects.
The initiative of ADB in partnering with the Ministry of Rural Development is therefore vital for the growth of the country and for developing a model to deliver rural infrastructure quickly. This will provide the basic platform for productive economic activities in the rural sector.
You know, when one talks about the rural sector in India and one talks about private investment going into it, especially into some of the very far-flung villages in India, it just doesn't connect. Private sector is not seen as coming into the rural sector to deliver services. It's simple. The PURA scheme is therefore so innovative in the sense that it bridges this gap. It brings together public funding with private sector investment and actually catalyzes these into projects which don't just build infrastructure. So we have core infrastructure, water supply, village roads, street lighting, etc., and combines it with direct rural employment and livelihood generation. In that sense, it is extremely innovative. You're bringing in private sector investment, you're building hard sector projects over there, which is, I think, one of the first such schemes being developed for rural India today.
As India marches towards the next century, a new dawn emerges on India's horizon, beckoning it to greater heights and greater might. And at the core of this great rise will be the quaint little villages with hard-working people and happy smiles. Mehboob knows his life is about to change. He knows his village is about to change. Now, he won't have to move to a city. Now, he won't have to leave his family. Mehboob is a happy man today.